First of all, Jackie, David, Shirley, I just want to say a big thank you. Um, and Scott specifically told me what an honor it is to have David Sklar have his eyes personally on this. And, please trust me, I say it just gives me, given the sensitivity and urgency of my situation right now, it just gives me a huge peace of mind, and kind of a relief just to know that David's eyes is on this. So I just wanted to say thank you so much. And Scott also personally told me that David's wife, also has her eyes and ears on this, and that's why she's included. And Scott assured me that anything that's seen by David's wife, who I CC'd, is passed on to David as well. And it really does mean a lot to me that that is happening, and you will specifically understand why in a minute. And, given that as you probably have a sense or somewhat aware from, the emails and all that, Scott's just helping me, emotionally in other ways, just navigate through this whole process and see me through it, because it's, really scary. I'm sure you're aware, it's a real scary time. It's not just me going bankrupt or claiming bankruptcy, but it's what's really scary for me is that, I haven't been able to pay my rent in like many months now. It's been almost a year. And like the only option I have left now is to include my rent arrears in my bankruptcy to prevent myself from being homeless or being evicted. So that is really the urgency and what's scary for me, given that I just don't know how everything works. And I've just been going on faith and all. But with that being said, so just God's helping me navigate through all this whole process. And it just means a lot that, He said that. Um, he assured me that David's, full attention is on this. And given that, just Scott knows David from, his history with him and everything David has done for him, he assured me that. And that's why it's so important to me that David is kept up to date with everything that's happening here. And Scott assured me that, anything that David's wife Shirley sees, as I'm including her, will for sure be passed on to David. And it is very, very important because, as I said, I realized, I said how much peace, you're bringing me, but the battle is not over yet, so to speak. So it would mean a lot to me if I just knew that, David's eyes are on my case all the way through, not just up to the date of signing, signing the papers April 4th, and which could happen earlier, and I will explain in a minute what I mean by that. And right up until, the date I tell you that my L1 has been removed from the system, and I'll also show you, what that means in a minute. What I mean by that, because I'm gonna walk you through the screen and show you, like, do a screen share. Okay, so see this screen here? I go on here like at least 3 to 6 times a day. This is a status where I can go on and check if a hearing date has been scheduled. So right now it says no hearing is scheduled. So I go on here every day just to make sure. And because, if there is a hearing and I don't, it could come at any time. I could, find out, oh, a hearing date has been scheduled. And if I don't have the bankruptcy processed for the hearing date, um, then, there'll be no point in me actually signing, going through with the bankruptcy papers, because the only reason for my urgency right now is not that Scott has just offered to pay my April rent. Let me just stop the screen share here. Is not, that Scott has offered to pay my April rent contingent that I sign on April 4th specifically, um, that wouldn't have been enough if it wasn't for the fact that I owe, a year's worth of rent. And, I could technically, I could technically be homeless anytime soon if this bankruptcy doesn't process before I get a hearing date, before the actual date of the hearing occurs. Which is the reason for my request I'm about to make. I realize it's probably a big ask, but like I said, I feel like I have no other option, and this is like just so I know it's a really probably a complicated, unsimple process, but this is the real urgency for me. And so I'm about to make the request in a minute. And so, you can probably understand, in all fairness to Ashley, she did not understand why I could not trust her in the degree I needed to, which Scott assured me I can, with David Sklar's, eyes on this fully. And so I'm just gonna sorry, what I meant to say. And so therefore, if I go on, what I just showed you on that screen to check my status, at any time and see that there is a hearing date has been issued. So, say, for example, I speak to Jackie tomorrow, which is Monday at 11 a.m. And I say if I go, and check my status and see there's a hearing date, all of a sudden it's been scheduled. I go and I see a hearing date at 2 p.m. Um, so with the hopes that you can have, if that were to happen, I mean, yes, it's, I doubt it, but it could. I gotta kind of act like, that will happen because I have no idea when I'm gonna get a hearing date. It's right now, waiting for a hearing date, a court date. So if that were to happen, you know, I w like, with the hopes that you can have, like, anybody let me process, like, even, on a minute's notice, this bankruptcy, like, I will come any time of day to sign the papers and have it processed even within I can come, like, within hours of finding out that I got a hearing date if that should happen. That would be the only reason if I find out I get a hearing date before April 4th, that'll be the only reason, for me to reach out and just say and request, for me to sign the papers before April 4th. Um, so this way, I can be assured that I will avoid, eviction. And if I can't avoid eviction, and I've talked to, those lawyers, which I'll also explain in a minute, what I mean. And there will be actually no point in me signing the papers. So, like I said, I would like David's eyes and ears on this right up until I sign and right up until I can confirm that there is no eviction, or there will be no eviction, and the L1, that has been filed against me has been removed from the system as a result of me going bankrupt. And so, specifically my request is, and I know that's contingent on me having all my paperwork together, for you, Jackie, and saying which I'm working on like all day today, just getting all that paperwork you asked for ready for you. That you just have the paperwork already. So if acting as if, I were to, like I said, get a hearing date like as early as tomorrow or 2 days from now, I can just reach out to you and just say, I got a hearing date and I need to, like sign the bankruptcy papers today or within 24 hours so this can be processed in order to stop the eviction from occurring. So that is my big request. And so now, as you'll see, I've sent you a link, and I'll just kind of do a screen share just to show you what I've included, the link that I've sent you, just so you know to navigate through and explain, why I included this stuff in this link. So I'm just going to go and just do that screen share now. All right, so when you click this link, I've created specifically this, page here. for you, Jackie, just so it's easier just to access everything in one place. So you'll see, yeah, I'm just working on just putting on my bank the what you asked for bank account stuff together. And it's yes, not yet complete, but it will be. But what I just wanted to show you here if is that I have pasted all the most recent communications here, as you will see in this link. Um, Communications to and from the landlord and myself, all recent ones, most recent ones, and all of them were ghostwritten by Scott. And the reason I'm including this, just so you understand, like, what I just kind of shared with you before this, my urgency, the urgency of the situation. And if I were, yes, the date is set for April 4th, and God willing, that does happen April 4th, that I can sign on April 4th, because that will be the date if it, don't get a hearing before April 4th, and I sign the papers on April 4th. If it occurs on that date, the agreement I have with Scott is that he will pay, that entire month's rent for me if it works out that way. And if it turns out that I end up getting, like I said, a notice in the mail, or I find out on the site, that I just like did a screen share of where it says no hearing date, that all of a sudden there's a hearing date issued really quickly. Yeah. So this is what I was talking about, the back and forth communications. When you click the link, you'll see it here. Um, that's to and from my landlord. And so hence my request that I made, a minute ago or so, if you can do all the preparation for having just my paperwork as if the date was not April 4th, and it ended up that I, had to just, because I got a hearing date sooner, that I had to just like scram and sign the paperwork sooner, that the signing day would be sooner, that it could like, be any time, if, of course, that is even possible. But that is my, like I said, my big ask, my big request. As I don't know, how things work on your end, and if it could be that the file was just ready to go, like on notice. So if I were to get a hearing notice, I could just like let you know, and then we can have the paperwork all done and processed in time to stop, my eviction from going through, or even me having to attend a court date or hearing. Um, and the reason why this is very, very important is I have done my diligence, and this is what I have done. Just to let you know, um, I have had also email communications going back and forth to a lawyer at Legal Shield, as you probably know who they are, and as well as I've also have had the attention of a legal aid lawyer who I personally spoke to over the phone, and who's also on my case. And through both of these lawyers, who, by the way, were recommended to me by Scott, and as a result of also make 3 calls to the landlord and tenant board, I found out that at this point in time, right now, while the courts are on hold, they are still holding hearings and seeing people for court dates to do with evictions such as mine. And um, mine could be, I mean, like I said, could be possible that I get a hearing date before April 4th. I mean, I totally doubt it, but I have had one agent tell me that it could be from the landlord tenant board, that it could be many, many, many months till I get a hearing date from the time that my landlord filed an L1. And I have also even more recently had 2 other agents from, the landlord tenant board say something different to me. Um, and then I've also had the most recent lawyer. who I've been in contact with, and she has been dealing with, cases personally. So this is her area of expertise. And she also said that every time there's a hearing date, that hearing date is always within 7 days or less because it is all done like virtually now, like over Zoom. That's how they're holding hearings. So Scott's offer, like I hope it all works out, but I will only get my rent paid entirely if it is done on that date, April 4th. And if, like I said, but it is kind of too late right now. I've got like so much, just fear and anxiety about this, just, the possibility, of eviction and not having, my rent paid for like almost a year. And I won't get into the whole story of why and all that, how COVID has affected that, but yeah, those are the facts. And I will just have to move forward with this myself, if it turns out that I do get a hearing date before April 4th. If I can't sign on April 4th specifically. So I hope it doesn't work that way and everything works out. There's no hearing date and I can just like sign on April 4th and no later than that for sure because, I've made a promise myself April 4th. So I just want to, let you know, again, like Jackie, I'm not going to screw you over again, or waste your time, even if it turns out that I got a hearing date. Like I said, sooner. I'm not going to say, sorry, I'm not going to do, the paperwork if you tell me, you're going to go out, like you're going to, do whatever you can to let me sign, that day. Or the next day, if I happen to get a notice of hearing suddenly, like, tomorrow or 2 days, like from now. Because I, need, like I said, I need to have all the paperwork processed so fast that it can be submitted to the landlord and tenant board in a certain way so that the hearing could be like canceled and out of my system. And I know for certain, you know, I'm safe and I won't be evicted. And like I know this is a very, like I said, this is a very delicate and complicated process to make all this happen fast enough if I get a notice of hearing date any sooner than April 4th. And like I said, I'm hoping it's no sooner than April 4th. I doubt it, but I gotta kind of act paranoid as if like I have no idea. Like when I talked to the landlord temp or 3 times, no one could tell me for certain, or even, like I said, I'm kind of getting different. One person saying it could be months, another person said it could be 2 months, someone else tell me something different. So it's just the whole uncertainty and the unknown thing, right? So I just gotta act as if, it could happen anytime or any day. So I just want to make sure that I just got all my ducks in a row, prepared that, you could be like on call, Jackie, or have someone else on call if it's not you, that if I need to sign the papers like 2 days from now or next Tuesday, like it's all gonna be ready and be able to process so fast in time to just stop the whole, the eviction from moving forward or even it going um, to the actual hearing even happening, like it being totally removed from my system. So that's it, and that's really, the urgency and sensitivity of my situation. Again, thank you so much, for being attentive to this and really understanding. I really appreciate it. It means the world to me. Thank you.